Joining me today, I have a special guest, Deb Firth from Lethbridge, Alberta. Deb, thank you so much for joining me today.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to be part of this conversation and about IJM.
Absolutely. So, speaking of International Justice Mission, or as we often say, IJM, I would love to start with just what is your affiliation with this ministry?
Well, really, Sylvia, my affiliation is simply one of being a longtime supporter for, well, over 15 years now. And I actually heard about IJM when a fellow named Ed Wilson, an IJM representative, came to our church during Missions Week one year and spoke about the suffering and injustices in the rock quarries in India. And anyway, those images he showed on the screen just stayed with me, and the idea of creating pictures using small rocks and pebbles and selling them with the proceeds directed towards IJM kind of began as my small way of doing something, which was Mr. Wilson's challenge at the time to do something. So it just seemed to fit rock pictures and rock quarries. And I have to say that what started out as a little hobby or idea has certainly become more successful than I ever anticipated. So that's one way I support IJM. Another way I try and support IJM, and this will sound a little strange, but is actually going to the IJM field offices. And I've been blessed to have traveled to the field office in Guatemala as well as IJM's office in Manila. And I really just love meeting the IJM staff and learning more about their focus of work in that particular country. So, like, for example, in Guatemala, the focus is primarily on sexual violence against women and children. And in Manila, their work has shifted from the sex trafficking of children to the insidious, and Sylvia, I have to call it nothing short of insidious crime of online sexual exploitation of children, or OSEC as it's referred to. I just really feel that these trips allow me to come back home and speak more authentically and with more passion about the work IJM does. And I've been blessed to have the opportunity to speak at our church a number of times, as well as various ladies' conferences and events. So, um, kind of in another way, that's another way I feel I can support IJM. I know,
Absolutely.
very long-winded,
No,
long-winded.
no,
I'm
not at
sorry.
all. I think it's not at all. I think it's an incredible thing that not only you said, "Okay, I have to do something," but then you wanted to go see firsthand. Often, like, I know I pray from where I am. I've donated monetarily. I've gone on this massive hike to help end human trafficking because I care very deeply about it too. But going down to the field offices, that's a very big deal. I would love to hear, are there any highlights from Guatemala or the Philippines for you? Things that stuck with you on those trips?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, first off, the staff, they're just so humble and so courageous. It's just really amazing to meet the staff in well, both of these field office. One of the highlights in Guatemala was seeing this large glass jar that's in the center of their main office. And it's where staff would gather around every time there was a celebratory moment, such as like a successful prosecution of an offender or a step forward in government relations, really any positive outcome where the vulnerable and the poor are being protected and assisted, and really importantly, that they're heard. And each dropping, so Juan Miguel would drop this nail into the jar and ring a bell, and it signified IJM's success in delivering another blow. That's what they called it, another blow to those who are profiting or feeling they have impunity from the law when it comes to abusing others. And Sylvia, this is a great big jar, like a big jar, and it's already almost halfway full. So that's a wonderful thing to see that jar filling up. Now in Manila, not that one would call it a highlight, But something of really great impact was being able to actually see 3 locations where rescues of victims of online sexual exploitation had taken place, along with a visit to a shelter facility where other rescued children are being cared for and beginning their restorative journeys. And and those two things really made the crime of OSEC more real and added, I guess, for me, even more fuel to the fire to spread the message about what this horrendous crime's about, because people really, really haven't heard about this. And and really how innocent children's lives are traumatically changed forever, really forever, simply by the push of a button from those who IJM refers to as demand side perpetrators. And it was actually, to be honest, it was actually sickening to hear and learn that these perpetrators direct the abuse they want to see and are amping that abuse up, and that their identities are relatively protected by security controls within tech and social platforms and financial institutions. And that even if convicted, a perpetrator does a minimum amount of time in jail time here in Canada. And honestly, to have been able to look into the eyes of these victims, there was 15 girls there, victims of this abuse, and the fact that Canada ranks as one of the top 4 demand side countries, it, quite frankly, is shocking. But it's an area, in my opinion, that should be one of Canada's top priorities to make changes in our privacy laws, to demand that tech and social platforms, as well as financial institutions, are held accountable so that predators are not allowed to hide behind a veil of privacy, and that judicial systems deliver maximum penalties and jail sentences to perps of this type of crime. I know that IJM Canada continues to engage with Parliament in an effort to shine a light on this crime within our country, because, as I say, it's not well known. It's a very hidden crime. And hopefully more organizations will join IJM Canada to demand these changes are made. Again,
Absolutely.
long-winded,
No,
but I
that's
feel
amazing.
really passionate about this, having learned about the privacy and how perpetrators are protected, and these innocent children are just abused over and over again.
Yeah, and when you look into the eyes of them, you see so much so that the perpetrators who I think often are able to like disassociate and say like, oh, it's just some person somewhere, or it's not even like a person, like because they don't care that they're ruining these lives, but then these are real people, these are real children, and you
Real,
get to see them. And
yeah.
that definitely fuels that fire. I got to talk real quickly about, before we wrap up, how this fire has helped you raise $300,000 towards this. How did you do that? And what does this go towards?
Well, that was amazing. Truly, I came back from the trip and had to present to the mission team about what I witnessed and learned there. And then the staff, the board, truly courageously decided to take the subject of OSEC, not an easy one, and present it to the church body, but also make it the focus of our Advent Conspiracy Project. And the goal really at that time was just to raise enough money for 10 rescue operations at $10,000 each, so a total of 100,000. And so Robin Padini, the IJM Director of Development for Alberta, and another gal, Tanya, and myself were able to speak during the 4 Sundays in December. And boy, Sylvia, this subject touched people's hearts, because when the final totals came in, yeah, $300,000. And it's not like one rescue is one child. It can be up to 2, 3, 4 or more children. So if you averaged out one rescue to 3 children, say per rescue, that's over 60 children, victims of this horrific abuse, will be rescued through the IJM team. And let me tell you, it was a shock and a praise God moment when that final total was announced. It was amazing. Yeah.
Absolutely. I would love to shout out your congregation and your church. What is the church's name?
Oh, it's the Evangelical Free Church of Lethbridge. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, that is fantastic. And so many kids that their lives, it was forever changed from this trauma and now will be forever changed as they start to heal from that
Yes.
horrific abuse.
Yeah.
One more thing, Deb, is there anything else you want to share today on the Day for Freedom?
The Day for Freedom. I guess I just want to say we're just so blessed to live in Canada and what we have here. And I guess I would want to put out a challenge to people similar to what Mr. Wilson challenged our church way back when, and that is to do something. Do something to improve the lives of someone suffering violence and abuse at the hands of others. Do something to help give them freedom and hope. And with this Day of Freedom, it's as easy as becoming a freedom partner with IJM through just a monthly donation. And the power of that is that it provides support, protection, critical care, and not the least of which is hope to families and children suffering from trafficking, various forms of abuse, violence, trapped slavery, so many things. And I would just strongly advocate for your listeners to check out www.ijm.ca/free and just sign up to become a freedom partner. And what a great opportunity to make a difference, and what a great day to do it.
Couldn't agree more. I think that's wonderful. Deb, thank you so much for your heart for the least of these, for those that are downtrodden, and for taking such clear action to help those who often don't have a voice otherwise. Your heart is so beautiful, and I've really appreciated talking with you today, Deb.
Well, back at you, Sylvia. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it. Take good care.
You too. God bless you.
God bless.